Dibs.
Well, Doug and Kath, thank you so much for inviting us to your home and to your farm. Yeah, we're excited to be here. So, the first question we like to ask people is just the general question. Can you tell us about your exemplar project, about what you're doing here, what the background is, the basic sort of sketch of what's going on?
We'll talk about the origins later on, but essentially this is a hobby farm growing native species for which leaf and fruit at some stage had a commercial value. From the time we decided what species 30 years ago, commercial values have shifted. So really only 2 of our crops now have commercial value, but we're a hobby farm. But it's more than a farm, it's a lifestyle, and we'll talk more about that later on. I moved into it when I was still working, Kath was still working. So while we had an income stream, we built it up. So when I left work and Kath left work, it was here waiting for us. Want to add to that?
What I'm really grateful for in all this, that we just had a go. When we came, we didn't know when we bought the land, we really didn't know what we're going to do with it all. Only that we both like, I suppose, country area. I did biology when I did my teacher training, so I was interested in trees and all that kind of stuff. And it was just the fact that we were prepared to step out and do something which we didn't know how we were going to do it, but we'd had a go.
Let me add to that, unless you're going to pick this up in a later question. We'd lived at the Gap, Kath, ever since she came over from Perth in 1977. And then we felt when the kids left home, I've always wanted to live in the bush. Kath's always wanted to live near the sea. And we went exploring, went up to Mullaney and thought, gee, it's a nice land up here. It's a long way from Brisbane. And then we came into Sanford Valley, about which we knew very little. And this was the first property we came on that hadn't been sold. It was on the market, it had been on the market. And then we were having a barbecue with a good friend of mine over the road, 2 roads away, who told me about a fellow called Jack Mitchell, who was a local identity, an old banana farmer, who was selling his wares, which involved moving a project team onto a vacant block and revegetating it with local native species. So we thought, that's a good idea. And what you see in front of you there are the 600 trees that were planted in 94, September. All of those from him. And then, because I come from a farming family, part of which was an orchard, and I'm a geographer, Kath and I love this idea about trees. Rainforest trees sounded good. I didn't want to do anything. People were saying, why don't you run a few cattle? Well, I know the cost of fences and vets, and we had beef on our property. Don't go near that. But the notion of natives, which would be low maintenance, really attracted us. And Kath really got into it. And if you look at the materials we were sent, you'll see her watering it in the first 2 years. Kath would get in the car, drive over from the Gap and carry 2-litre milk bottles watering the small plants. We planted all of them. There are 590 trees that are fruit trees. We did have friends on a weekend that helped us. And we just did it because the idea came to us. We didn't say we're going to make money. And when I give a garden talk, I always say that if you want to make $1 million out of bush food, start with 2. A lot of people have gone to the wall. It's not that sort of market. For instance, the lemon myrtle, which was our first crop and was pulling $40 a kilo, within 3 years of us producing, someone up there in the Whitsundays planted a, what do you call it, 2 million tree forest.
That is
No, what do you call that?
Plantation?
Plantation, yeah, thanks. 2 million trees. So the bottom dropped out of the market. And they converted tree pickers to do the harvesting. When Kath and I were harvesting, it was a bucket at our feet and stuff. So we know when to step out of it. So we've never suffered from it. We've taken delight in being able to do what we do with it. And we now get our eldest son to do the harvesting of the fruit because we're beyond it. So it's never been an obsession. And it's, as Kath will say later, it's more than just fruit. It's a place of spirituality and sanctity for us. we're Catholic Christians, and for us, this is why we called it Eden. Quoting the Bible, that's where the Lord walks in the cool of the evening. So for us, it's a spirituality as well as a business, as well as a lifestyle. Here endeth the lesson, I think.
I think for me, the spirituality developed, that's part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
My spirituality developed through this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
I went from being a counsellor to actually doing what we call spiritual companioning, which was a course was run by the Anglican Church. And it was an ecumenical group. It was wonderful. It was 4 years part-time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a further development into my spirituality, mixing all these like-minded people, but coming again from different areas of religion. And it really, that was the bit that really surprised me when I was reading and reflecting this morning, how much just living here has affected me internally.
It's
That is
changed us.
really interesting to hear because, you know, a lot of the time, the sort of vibe of spirituality is it's all up there, or it's all nebulous, or it's all feelings, or whatever. And this is very hands in the dirt,
Grounded.
like very
Earthy spirituality
grounded.
here.
And so it's very, and I take it this is in the spirit of what you're saying, that there's something very grounding about place, dirt, watering things, watching
very
them
much.
grow, being amongst
Yeah.
other living things of different species and all that.
And it's part of a tradition of, depending on who you read and what DNA studies you follow, up to maybe 65,000 years of culture.
Right,
Because there's nothing we grow that hasn't already been harvested by Indigenous.
right.
And Indigenous friends of ours have been here and wandered through the place and advised us, and
Right.
even taken some plants away to grow at their place.
Right.
We've got a lot of respect for the Indigenous people,
Yeah.
but let me just say that in the marketing world there is tension amongst some,
Ah, yes.
Indigenous and
Not
non-Indigenous,
surprising.
which
Yep.
is par for the course.
Yep.
We've never been caught into that.
Yeah, but these species that have, I mean, all of these species are likely to have I mean, you know, growers and breeders and whatnot have been adapting species forever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it must have been the case that they would be, you know, spreading the seeds of the more delicious one and pulling out the one that looks scruffy. And
Well, that's what the
So-
Indigenous people did, though.
of
yeah.
course, so
Spit the
these
seed out
are
on
these
the
are
wall,
very
yeah.
these are species that have a long and ancient history of adapting themselves to
Yes.
journey alongside humans. They're not just some wild plant. They've
No,
got a
well,
long history with us as humans.
they're not, but we were very careful. So most of what we bought, including the lemon myrtle, are cultivars from northern New South Wales
Right.
that went through the local ag college to get an accredited level of oil, citral oil, which
Oh,
is
I
a
see.
secret. So we have a certificate that says your lemon myrtle has this percentage of oil.
Right, I
Never
see.
had to use it. So there have been modifications, and the ribery, the tree and fruit now, was discovered allegedly by one of the pioneers of the non-Indigenous wood food industry. I won't mention him. I think he's persona non grata now with some people. And he'd claimed they were seedless. So we made a point of bringing those trees up from northern New South Wales. And if you care to eat one or two on the way down, watch to the seeds. So
Right.
they are and they aren't. And there was a bit of froth and bubble in the early days about the quality, but because we don't rely on it for an income,
Yeah.
we're right.
All right,
Makes
thanks,
it-
thanks Doug and Kath. As an aside, we've got 6 questions and then there's a couple of add-ons there, so we try and stick to around about 10 minutes a question for your
Well, tell us if we're drifting.
and you'll already have picked up, Doug, or picked up from yourself and from Kath, that there's a vertical component. It's not only the hands-on component, which is terribly important, but there's a depth in that that adds the vertical to it. And so that's what we call deep craft, right? And that's what you're living in your deep craft. And you'll note some of the questions, bracket this next one, relates to that as well. So you mentioned before how Kath was saying something and you were going, oh, I've got something inside I want to say. Remember that? And that's just spot on what the nature of the second question is. So would you like to let us know any of the how does this affect your energy and your inside? And how does what you find and feel inside, like it's helped Kath develop the inside by being here, outside in, as well as inside out?
Yes.
Well, you want to go first?
Well, when I look around here, I really think, oh my God, have we done this? It's like, I can't believe it. Like, we were in our 50s, and I'm thinking, not many people start doing something physical at that age, but that's what we were drawn to. And what I was reflecting on this morning was it really was a call from deep inside, but I didn't know that it was. Didn't know what it was. And I suppose because I've liked working outside and I love trees, in fact, sometimes I'll take a chair and I'll sit in the middle of all the trees.
It's still there, actually.
Yeah, and because it was a sense of achievement, we did it, we stretched ourselves, and we did it, not knowing at all what was going to be the end result. You know, here we are in our 50s and you don't know what life is going to be, one day to the next. So that was a sense of achievement there. But the other major thing for me was developing Australian culture. How many people actually sit down and do something like that? We want to just improve and acknowledge what Australians can do and working together. That's what I get excited about. We were on television at one, I think Channel 9, I think it was. And they were talking about the Sydney Olympics coming up.
Brisbane Extra did a feature on us, and I'll send you the link, I think.
Yeah. And I think, gosh, Doug and I are two little people that not many people would know, but we're embarking on this. It was an adventure, and just developing Australian culture. Instead of following America all the time, we were developing something of our own. And that was, I felt like a real patriot. I really did. And,
Would you include Australian horticulture?
yeah, well, basically looking at what Australia has been growing, like through the Indigenous people.
Yeah.
So we've got to
Yeah.
there. So that was our port of call, going through what the Indigenous people were doing.
Thank you.
But also the acknowledgement that we had a go. You know, we talk about Aussies having a go, and that again was from my heart. Let's have a go at this. So it was very exciting. And one of the most exciting things about that, and then I'll be quiet, was meeting so many like-minded people, from like Queensland Bush Foods and all the different groups that we've been part of, that we were in this together. One more point, and I think this is important, is, in a lot of businesses, you don't share information with your competitors. You do everything you can to have your little go at your business, whatever that is, but you don't want to let your competitors know anything. Well, I suppose being Christians, we thought that was pretty up the creek. So we made a decision that whatever we learned, we would pass on to anyone who wanted to know. We would share our experience of what worked and what didn't work, how we could improve things, whatever. And I think that was important to us because we felt, I certainly felt free. We weren't doing this new thing and hiding it all by ourselves. We were sharing everything that we knew about it. And that made that exciting because we weren't hiding anything. We're pretty open-minded.
Okay, my turn.
Yep.
Can I just ask? I'm guessing you got reciprocity. When you shared with other people, they were inclined to share with you? But that gesture of openness.
Started something, to be quite honest. I think they hadn't heard this before about sharing.
We came into it at a time when there was growing interest, and the first group was based at Mullaney, and we got involved in that, and that was the origin of the Queensland Bushfood Association. There were all people came in out of the hills and said, let's sit down and talk about it. As well as what Kath's saying, for me it was very personal. Now here I have to own up, turn the camera off, Ned, you don't want to record this. On our farm, our 1,200 acres at a place called Putty, where we had an apple orchard, a beef I shot kangaroos, parrots, wombats, anything that moved. I go up there on the holidays with my 22 and shoot it as
Murderous.
a 12-year-old. Exactly. This is a penance to me. I really feel an obligation. I can never repay it. I can ask forgiveness for the land, and as a geographer, I've got a strong sense of ecology. And for me, it's not silly to think the Lord is here. I sit, if I want a peaceful time, I'll sit down on a chair, which is down behind the house. Just breathe it in. That's, for me, it's really important. And I do feel I've paid the debt. I do feel I've got to whip myself sometimes for my stupidity as a child, but as a 12-year-old, when you lived in the city and you had a holiday in the bush, what else did you do? Now we actively protect and foster wallabies. You'll see wallabies on the lawn at night, or we don't have wombats. Various birds, quails and the like. So it's got that personal sense to me too.
So that started outside when you were shooting a bunch of stuff. It went inside when you were looking at yourself, and now it's gone outside as you're
Yep, that's
making
right. Yeah.
penance, as you say.
Well, yeah.
A wonderful example for this question.
Yeah, and I've got a
Goosebumps.
photo of a koala I picked up. It's in the car.
Okay.
Fell out of a tree up here about a kilometre away, and he was on the road, and I was the only car. So luckily he hadn't been knocked over. I picked him up, put him in the passenger seat, and I've got this koala sitting in the passenger seat looking at me with this funny look. And I took him down to the local vet hospital, and they looked after him, sent him up to the hospital up in the Sunshine Coast. That's where I feel about wildlife, absolutely. So I do trap, and I will shoot cats and foxes around here. I caught a very good cat, a Persian, with a necktie and all. This was a couple of years ago. Took it down to the vet and said, could you let the owner ring me?
All right.
And the owner never did. So I said to the vet, in that case, let them know if I get that cat again, they'll never see it again.
Right.
I feel that strongly about people, you know. We've had some locals with dogs out of control, but I've managed that through relationship, but no cat, not on.
They are very destructive. Yeah.
Oh yeah, terrible.
I just think one point is, I think that for me, I look beyond myself. I look further afield, and that came up with a lot of different thoughts and thinking and how I've changed and whatever. I had my counselling practice here, and people would love to come here. They really did. Because we could sit out here on the veranda instead of being a little pokey room, with your coffee machine there and, your new desk and all that stuff. We would just sit out here. And so people are relaxed.
We're part of a religious community, not a sect. Trust me, not a sect. A Catholic community, and we ran a fathers and sons many years ago. They all threw their tents on the lawn because the city kids never had the opportunity. You haven't got to drive to Toowoomba, you can come up to Camp Mountain. And we've had retreats here. They've had the present Bishop of Rockhampton offer Eucharist here. We've got people who gathered here because it's 20 minutes from the city,
It's close,
and
isn't
it's
it?
a different
not
world.
difficult to get here.
And we've enjoyed that opportunity. As we get older, we tend to pull back a bit. We have twice a year a meeting of men here, average age 70 plus. A dozen men, and there's a bishop, a priest, a number of religious brothers, a number of people who were brothers, a number of lay people. We sit here on the table. Kath turns out a beautiful feast for them. 2 hours discussion. What do we talk about? What we think is important. And then Kath feeds us, they pack up, go away for the next one. Twice a year. And they wouldn't miss it for the world. It's a thing for blokes.
I'm not surprised to hear it. Yeah.
It's the place, it's the atmosphere.
Yep.
And now the families on the road up there have children that have left home. No more crying babies.
Right.
It's very quiet here.
I think the main point too is the hospitality. I was going to talk about that later. Is all the different people that we have met through, like the bush foods. People who have come and they wander around and have a little look. We used to just charge them half the price if they picked the fruit themselves or the leaves or whatever. So they would happily go out there and have a little play. And we've had a chef come out here. And he had his own business in Melbourne, a big company which is now folded. But he loved coming here because he could actually see the fruit or the leaves growing.
Right.
He was our
See it.
client, and he
Yeah.
was up to Brisbane
Yeah.
to come and visit us. We've had an Indigenous chef here because we ran, you're probably aware of this when you take school students together in what they call the STEM movement.
Oh yeah.
It was an initiative at the local area, and we had kids from 3 schools here, year 9s, and we got an Indigenous chef colleague of ours who set up the food here. They wandered around. I escorted them around the bush and got them to sit, smell, touch, feel. What do you sense? What do you hear? It wasn't a lecture of this is a Davidsonian
Right.
period. We didn't do that. But we did say to start, go out there, walk no more than 2 minutes and come back with something you think's edible. Well, if you want to get year
Wow.
9 kids excited, that works.
That's pretty
So we
cool.
got their attention. So
Yeah.
that teachers. And so that got them involved. And when she stood up there and talked about it, kids were fascinated. But regrettably, that program fell apart because of its organisation, so that only happened once. But we're open to that at any stage
Yeah.
because we think it's ours to share. And we're custodians, we're not owners of this land. We can't say we're owners, we just, legally we are, but spiritually we're not.
And we've had scout groups here as well. Doug talked about the father and son. Well, there was like 10, 15 little tents all around him. I hid in the bedroom. It was the only thing.
It was men's business.
Yeah, but the hospitality. People would come and they'd collect their plums or whatever. They'd sit down and have a couple, and 3 hours later they'd go home because they really enjoyed the conversation. And we could again talk from our hearts. We had a beautiful lady, very mixed heritage of Danish,
Nikki?
New Zealand. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Nikki.
careful, she's out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman.
She was just lovely to talk to, and these people would pour their hearts out and again get into the spirituality because we never rushed anybody. We didn't have any kids here. I've got 4 kids, but none that lived here. So our time was our own. We could give these people what we felt they needed, and we would do that. So it's a matter again of observation. Being a counsellor, I'm trained to observe. So we
Okay,
kind
one more thing. We're over the 2 minutes. I've got to say this to respond to something you said a few minutes ago. We redesigned the house. It was a model home. We picked it up. We made it what we wanted. More veranda space. And if you look to the left, you'll see that part of the kitchen abuts out of the house.
Yep.
You sitting on that table, you can see that. We call that the inside outhouse
Right.
because we want to be inside looking out glass at the greenery.
Right.
We painted this house late last year. Guess what colour?
Right.
So we think and feel and smell the green connection. Sorry, I'll shut up. Carry on.
Well, the next question I was going to ask was actually, I think you've just given a really good answer to that. How does this place help other people? And I think you've been so if there's anything extra you want to add to that, we can. But so a theme that popped for me there is something about there's something about place and context that's just like irreplaceably important. It's interesting that you've sort of mentioned several times something about the serenity. How about the serenity? There's something about that things aren't rushed, and perhaps I wonder too, even if we live in such a sort of rectilinear environment, the built environment's actually really, really boring. It's really simplified, so it's easy to build. And this is really complicated. Everywhere you look, there's endless detail
And untidy gardens. We're not gardeners.
natural things. Yeah. So that I think maybe is central to being helpful to people when they're in this context.
Yeah.
and being relaxed. We have no set time for meals or who's going to cook or will we cook tonight. Like everything is just as it comes.
Because
we don't put pressure on ourselves.
We've got no dependence.
For those
That makes all the difference.
You
Makes
know.
all the difference.
Well, that's the temporal end of it. Is like the built environments, all these, I don't know, standard, all the studs are like $4.50 a part or whatever,
whatever.
and then there's this implement of slavery that does the same thing in the in the physical world. It does the same thing in the temporal world as what the built environment does in the physical world. But
I'm having what he's talking about. That's
And
what we
I'm
want.
not wearing a watch.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. There's a freedom here.
yeah.
One of the things we face every now and then is our mortality. We're both in our 80s. I have decided I'm not going to leave here unless the ambulance carries me out. Otherwise, you'll find me in a pile of dust somewhere if Kath goes first. Damn, I'm not leaving because this is the best place to go. And the other thing about it is, I'm rooted in the soil. It's something you said earlier. It's just about, we are part of this whole creation, we call it. Doesn't capture it, but the energy that flows. And there's evidence of energy between species and bush. We're species. We think it's there. There's something about it. What I like especially is we didn't land in and say, here's what we're going to do. As Kath said, we came here, spent 3 years. It took 3 years to build it.
Right.
And then we knew what we wanted to do, didn't
Right. But you had to sort of feel it and do it organically, like
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
slap a plan down on the.
The shed went in about 6 months after he bought the land because I got some money from my mother's will. So we had the money, the shed went in, and I put it in 4 bays in case we'd have to live there at some stage, and in fact we did. We had weekends here. We'd drive over from the Gap, have weekends, and we'd do some clean-up. But no rush, we just took our time to do what we wanted. And you'll see a fireplace there behind Ned.
Oh yeah.
That's our sacred fireplace. We would cook there and eat around that
Oh, glorious.
in the first couple of years.
Wonderful.
That's it.
And we would also have people here on the weekend, Saturday night dinner meeting. They all loved it. My friend Jenny was a GP, and she's died, but she and her husband, who was a heart surgeon, would come out, and for them it was just so relaxing because we're sitting in the shed with stuff everywhere. One time, Mark was eating a bit of steak, and a kookaburra came flying through
Yes.
to try to take it from his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah, they're cheeky.
Yeah.
and he was a very busy heart surgeon, still alive but not working. So for these people, it was like a sanctuary. You know, they were good friends. Jenny was my travel friend. And so we've had just wonderful interactions with people. We love to connect with people.
Okay, that'll do. That'll do.
Certainly set that up. Okay.
So over to you, Paul, for the next
Thanks.
question.
So Leighton's question was, how does this place help people?
Yeah.
So my question is, how does this place help the planet?
Well, I'll speak for myself. We are actively involved in sharing our learning. We're educators. I give garden talk clubs. You've seen the public information that I sent you. You've got the link, all that. That goes to anyone who asks. That's around the world, that stuff.
Right.
And we're not encouraging people to go out and get a square metre and plant these species. We're just saying you can help creation if you do something. So I've deliberately put in species on birds and reptiles to point out they're essential too. It's not a matter of cleaning it. See, when we bought this land, it was full of lantana, dead black wattle, Rhodes grass and the tail grass. It was a dry dairy run of a dairy farm. Prior to that, until 1930, it was a banana plantation. Given the slope, you're not surprised.
Oh, yeah.
When the bananas went out because of bunchy top in the late 30s, a big dairy farmer, 300 acres, bought this as part of it and turned it into a dry run. They brought in exotic pastures.
So what's a dry run?
Oh, when a cow stops lactating, you don't send it to the market. You send it to a paddock where they eat until they get pregnant when the bull finds them, and you bring it back into the milking herd. And so what it had done was develop a whole lot of exotic species, great for dairy cows, no good for us. That's where a lot of our cleaning up had to happen. So that's, I think, the point of it, that we have not redesigned it. We've tried to bring back the species. And the fellow that planted these 600, he was a local man who guaranteed the 60 species there, he seeded all locally. That's what we like. But there is an exception, one or two. You'll see the mango tree in front of you.
Yes.
If you look to the left of that, a large tree twice the height with a beautiful green leaf and white flowers starting to come.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of the name of the tree.
Cedar tree.
What?
Cedar.
What?
Cedar.
No, it's not a cedar. It's a native tree, and in September it flowers, and a white butterfly comes, and they come over from as far as Toowoomba. They cross the
Wow.
range, and they sow their seed in that tree. My memory's shot, I can't remember it. It was a classic tree. There was one of those in front of the shed which I took out, but we made sure we protected that one. And it's called the something moth. I wish I knew. Sorry, fellas.
My answer to that one would be that we're community minded.
Right.
We're not just Kath and Doug here. We have a wide connection to people.
Mm.
But I think because we didn't start till our 50s, I think we've been an inspiration to people. Instead of just having one job and getting the gold watch and all that, we've been prepared to do something else outside the norm. And I said, we share our life in the hospitality. And even at my age, I still enjoy having people over for meals or whatever. I still enjoy cooking. Very happy for Doug to cook if he wants to.
I can't find the name of that. Oh dear.
I thought it was a secret.
No.
Yeah, I just think that's inspiration to
Yeah,
us.
and you've shared with the various groups you've helped set up as well, which has then taken it further.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I didn't go into that, but I probably ought to, that we were founding members of the Queensland Bushfood Association. And then people got together nationally and started a group called the Australian Native Food Industry Limited. They met it in September 74 at Lismore. Kath and I went down, and because they needed a Queensland rep, they invited me, and I became one of the board members that set it up, and it became ANFL. So it established standards and protocols. However, there was some politicking going on, and you know what happens. And there was some non-Indigenous and some Indigenous issues there. And I stepped back because it was too far to travel. But I was the membership officer and the information officer. So for the first 2 years, I was taking membership, TAP was helping me, and I was putting out the newsletter. So we've been involved because that's our commitment. Share what we know, which is easy for me as a teacher. But I don't stand on the streets and wave placards. I couldn't do what you guys are doing. I'd see the whites in my eyes. Too skilled and too intricate for me. I'm a bit more whiteboard stuff.
And I have a meeting here every second Wednesday, 3 other women and myself. And we've been meeting together for yonks and yonks, part of our religious group. And we talk about anything and everything. And we support each other as much as we can. Emotionally, if someone's sick, we'll cook them a meal and do all what I call the normal hospitality things. We do that. But we ask a lot of people out here, and we've got a couple who need, mainly the man needs to talk to Doug, but we've invited them to come for the weekend, so we'll have a Saturday evening meal with them. As far as I understand, they're going to sleep as well, and we'll go off to church together in the morning. And in that time, we can suss out, do they really want to talk? Do they need to talk? Do they want to talk? Do they just want to talk to Doug? We'll just observe and see what are they wanting from us, and we will try to provide it.
That's wonderful. But yeah, you're providing that space to, if you try to, I don't know, pack it into a 40-minute consult, it's never going to happen, is it?
No.
Like you got to have the,
People have got
Right.
to feel that they're safe. They will not share anything.
They won't open
if
up.
they do not feel safe.
Yeah.
So you can be the best counsellor in the world, but if they don't feel safe, nothing's going to happen.
Kath, do you ever do common projects with those folks?
Oh,
As a
within the
method of therapy, or however you call it?
I've gone further from the counselling. I graduated in 2015 from this Anglican spiritual
Come on.
companion.
Yeah.
I've just given up my insurance on that. But what I am doing is doing these things informally. So if someone wants to talk, well, I can
Sort of
turn the
radar.
conversation around and just observe and sort of see where they're coming from or whatever. So that's what I'm basically doing now. So I've told my supervisor, no, I'm not going to do it anymore formally. And it's hard to let go when you do enjoy it. So doing
And you
things
anchored in
formally.
Yeah.
So really that sets the whole place here as being informal. And neither of us wants to leave here.
It's funny you should just ask that question of Kath, because I was just thinking exactly. I was going to wanting to ask Doug the same thing from the point of view of talking to blokes, and you know it's not always the case, but I've often found that in talking to a friend or whatever, it's you know, when you're standing side by side looking at a problem, you know, it's like, let's dig this trench or let's fix this, and it's so that there's something about doing something together is the entryway into being able to open up and talk. Is that a dynamic you've worked with here? Because you say there's men's groups that love to be here and so forth.
To some extent, but the men that I meet with, we've had an established relationship for years.
Right.
So we don't need the social noise.
Gotcha.
Getting to know you.
Social noise.
Well, that's my term. I don't mean, but you know, so g'day, come here often.
There's no need to break the ice over doing a job together.
No, and we've had, I don't go into details, but we've had one or two situations where people have sought refuge here,
Right.
and it's been wonderful. And Kath's beautiful. I mean, they know Kath is beautiful. I tend to stand in the background at the door with the gun in case someone comes in, but don't mean that. Look, it just occurred to me, that tree I'm talking about is the caper tree.
Caper.
And it's the caper moth, which comes over from the west. And if you look at the flower buds, they're like the European capers. You know, that are put in vinegar.
Because I guess they are a flower, the caper,
They
aren't
are.
they?
Well,
I think of them as a fruit.
That's the
but they're probably
Australian
a flower.
version. Yeah, so thank
Gotcha.
God I've remembered it. Thank you, Google.
Well, I was nearly there. I started with a C.
Yeah, you did, but you said cedar.
Yeah, I know.
But in a couple of weeks, that will be ringed with a halo of white moths, that tree, when the flowers are out.
Also, the kookaburras like that tree for some reason. We have one that likes to sit over there and wait to see if we've got food.
Yeah.
So the next thing I'd like to ask you is, there's a sort of dilemma or dialogue between the parts and the whole, right? So this site, it consists of, you know, there's plants, there's watering systems, there's buildings, there's there's processes you implement in terms of hospitality and all that kind of thing, and then there's a sort of whole that comes together. And I just wonder, I think you've already talked about this a bit, but what are the sort of, I don't know, things that tie those bits? You know, when you're thinking about the bits and pieces, what's the spirit or the intention or whatever that sort of ties those things together to bring it into the whole that you're trying to achieve?
For the things that aren't accidental, it's our purpose. Kath and I will, it's intentional. Kath and I will talk. For instance, she turned 80 last year. We spent weeks organising a wonderful party. Beautiful party. She had a list of guests. We got a local guy who's a chef in native foods, did a great job. People still talk about it. When we had the other meetings here, like the Blokes group twice a year, I say in the email, we're just going to sit and talk. And they know exactly what it means. We're all men of faith, and that makes the difference. So, but if it's an unusual one, like a neighbour drops in, we're never quite sure what that's about. So we like to think this place is available, but if we have some intention with it, we swap notes.
So, how would, continuing Leighton's question, how does this, and Kath, how does this relate, or does it, if I may ask, to your spiritual journey? This place, does it embody it? Does it inform it? Illustrate it?
Well, the people that we're talking about, when they walk in here, they sense it. Now we don't decorate it with religious symbols, but there are a couple in the kitchen. and there is some native artwork on the wall, and people just know because they know us. When strangers come in, like we got a local estate agent, no longer working, come in about 3 years ago to do a valuation, and she walked in. She's setting up her own branch of a thing called Post Office Reality. She was useless. Walked in. Oh, I'd put a wall there, make it a bedroom. Took no notice of what we'd done or asked why. Oh, I wouldn't put that there, I'd put that. See, so we didn't even try to connect. She lasted 10 minutes. Oh, by the way, she said, my husband's a carpenter, he can do all that. So I was talking about
But we're asking why.
Yeah.
And listening.
Yeah, those things are obvious.
Yeah.
But
But it's not about maximising the property value, I'm hearing. Like,
it was about getting something on the books because you're just starting up.
right.
My guess is, no, my conviction would be that the people that we invite know us, or they know Kath. Her women's group every fortnight is beautiful. They just know her. They've known her for 40 years. My men's group, not quite so. I've only been here 30 years. But I had a bloke that came to our last men's group I met in 1956.
Wow.
Others I met in 1962. We joined the monastery together.
Wow.
So this connection is still there. We don't flex our groups. And I will mention this now. I've just...
Sorry, what do you mean by that? You don't flex your groups?
Well, you don't say, oh, I don't want him anymore. Let's
I
get
see what
someone
you
to take his place.
Right.
The groups are self-contained, they really are, and self-maintained. We're not on each other's phone, but I've got an email list of about 3 groups, and I just send it around. Like the street, when I said in the street yesterday, Ned's going to come and do his thing with the drone, half of them replied, what a great idea, hope it goes well. We keep in good with the neighbours.
Yep.
You'd know the importance
Well,
of that.
life's too short to have bad blood with neighbours. Eh? I accidentally antagonised my neighbours when I was renovating. A little bit too much noise. And anyway, we're good, good mates now.
You're
But
over it now.
But yeah. But it's terribly stressful. The feeling that there's someone over there who might be judging and irritated by everything that you get. You know, you feel paranoid the whole time. You know.
You can't pick your neighbours or your family and your
Yeah.
friends, so you got to sort of live with
yeah.
it. We're very blessed with neighbours. We are.
I would honestly say Doug would be the leader in this street, because we always let them know if we're going to have a little burn off, you know, so they know what's happening. We keep them involved with everything. I've never really have a Christmas party like most streets do. I've never wanted to do that. It's one thing I've never wanted to host. We will probably be the oldest in the street now.
Could be now.
But I felt that all along, and I'm not quite sure why. I will go to someone else, but I don't know.
When you're obviously enormously hospitable, so it's reasonable to have some bits of it that you know, some limits, some boundaries, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doug keeps people involved in the street.
I've got to tell a funny story. We had a neighbour live behind us, long since gone, and she was an interesting woman. As soon as we walked on the block, she dropped in to say hello and tell us what we should do with it. Just one of those women that couldn't help herself, and she had these chooks, and the rooster would crow every day. And we'd be sleeping in the shed before we moved here, and that bloody rooster would come up. And one day I got out with a chainsaw. I never start before 9 o'clock.
Didn't bring out your inner 12-year-old and get out the 22? No.
I was over that by then. And I was working the chainsaw for a couple of hours, and the next thing I noticed, she's parading up the driveway. Stands herself up. When are you going to stop that chainsaw? And I thought, I can't let her get over. When you shut up that fucking rooster at 6 o'clock in the morning, she's no trouble, pardon me, she's no trouble after that, because that's how you deal with that neighbour.
Right.
Now we're
They
sort
need
of
a bit of vigorous pushback,
Yep,
and then you're all
yes,
good.
and I'm good at working that out. I was a manager and a principal, and you get to know how to deal with that.
Right.
And at the same time, you need to step back and let people express whatever it is they're grieving or a sense of loss. But this woman was over the top. And then we drew the line in the sand. She's great. She's just never been told that by a neighbour.
Right.
But we're lucky. We're still in touch with a couple of neighbours that have since moved, because when we were building, we shared our stories and helped each other, and it was good. It's a good street, good people. There are a couple of engineers here.
Best sort of
social-
people of all.
Someone up the hill is on the Health Ombudsman Committee. Good professional people, and we look out for each other. In fact, when I said Ned was going to put his drone up, one of them came back and said, "Watch out for the eagles.
Yeah.
They've been taking the chickens." When you take flight, keep eye out for the eagles. Apparently, there are wedge tails around here, but I don't see them. I'm not up in time.
Righto. Kath and Doug, this is our last question
Oh.
in this segment.
Oh,
That is about how do you help others learn from what you're doing?
let's give examples. I use Facebook a lot, and I post pictures of fruiting, harvesting, to let people know what we're doing, and it's friend to friend. We have a young couple friend of ours. They have a property on the south side, and they came up to visit, and I took him around and we dug up. That's the pink limeberry, if you know it. That's the, there we go. With
Over there.
That bright green leaf thing.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it produces pretty well from seed. It's the Glycosmus trifoliata. I remember that one, so I want that on record then. And he took some back, and he's planted it along the creek bed of his place. That's a simple thing which helps. The local Steiner School, they've got an outdoor education centre with a guy, and through the network he came out. We harvested timber from the lemon myrtle. He did all the hard work, I did the supervision. I cut it down with a chainsaw and he stripped it. He took it back, and they're building one of those Turkish gluts or glitz or something. What do
A
you
folly.
A what?
A folly, perhaps.
Didn't
No?
say-
But you know,
Well,
Folly.
it might be
we
because
talk
it's
about
not
a folly
complete,
book,
but,
no? Yeah.
but they do that, and the local scout group came out.
Right.
So they could show them how to build huts. We do
Right.
that with the timber. Because I'm a believer in what Carl Sauer said, being I'm a geographer. In 1941, Carl Sauer said, resources are cultural appraisals. If you think about it, the whole world's an oyster.
Right.
Anything that's there could be a resource, unless we put the blinkers on.
Right.
So we weren't harvesting leaf, but people wanted good quality timber, which as it dries, shrinks and loses weight, but remains tension strong. So that's why they're building the huts with it.
Right.
It's a resource. I've never forgotten that. An example I used to use was the Aboriginals at Cronulla, when I was teaching down there. Cronulla comes from Cunnamulla, I think, not Cunnamulla. Curranulla, place of pink shells.
Oh yeah.
The Indigenous were talking about the pippies they used to harvest.
Yep.
Now, we never did. We went fishing instead. But interesting how the perception of a place
Of
can change.
what the
according-
resources are. Is
well,
it's
according to the
cultural.
cultural frameworks.
Yeah,
And that's a very important lesson for us to learn. It really is. We could change the world if people get an idea of, let's use that, but not for this, for that. Here endeth the lesson, fellas. The geographer's still in me. I love it. I just think it's a wonderful discipline.
Well, it's such a good point that you think about where you get your resources, like Bunnings,
Yeah.
Coles,
Yeah.
Yes.
and to someone who has lived in any, Indigenous person living in an environment, they see a larder, they see a hardware store, they see, housing, they see healthcare, like
Yeah. And when I did some time up in Bathurst Island years ago, because a friend of mine, he stayed here recently, he was up there working at the school. We went bush camping for a week with a couple of Indigenous families. Have you ever eaten muley worms?
No,
Don't. Because they go to the mangoes
I'm reassured.
and they bore into the mangoes and they cut it down and they pull them out. They look like an elongated oyster with legs.
Oh, good grief.
And despite their encouragement, I couldn't eat them.
Right.
But they eat them as they walk.
Right.
Muley worms.
Cook them.
No,
Oh.
no, look,
Just fresh
still
snack.
crawling with the
Yeah.
legs.
Walk down the gully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
have to be hungry too.
Oh, I'm
But
sure
I-
they're full of fat and protein and yeah, well, I'm
Exactly.
sure. Yeah.
And they look just like an oyster in colour and texture and greasiness and slipperiness.
Right. Delightful.
But I learned a lot on that trip. Sorry, Paul.
Did you have anything you'd like to
Oh,
as we draw to a close, please?
I was just thinking, when you do the garden clubs, that, you're sharing information there too, and they're all retired people. There'll be up to 90 people you would get at a garden club, and they just want to know more. They're still learning. They want to know what that plant is, what you can do with it, how can I grow it, all that. It's just encouraging to see older people sharing a delightful hobby.
We've got to be discerning. I had a request a couple of weeks ago from the Southside Rose Growers Club. And I said, what do you think I could offer you? She said, oh, well, just come and talk to us. I said, I'm not going to travel 80 kilometres, but even if you give me $20 for petrol to talk to rose growers, you'll be climbing the walls in the first 5 minutes. Say thanks, but no thanks. I can now say no because they've got to have this interest and urge to do something. We're just gap fillers.
I take it if you encountered a rose that you just
Yeah, I wondered.
doesn't belong here, right?
No, no.
No?
Kath,
Would you tolerate a rose if it
I'd
just
have
popped up in the garden?
At different times I've had roses. But
Kath likes roses.
I got inspired recently, and we've just come back from Perth, seeing all my family and everything there. And some of my friends and relatives' gardens were just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Because we really don't have any plants. I've got some containers there from Woolies, and I have had petunias and stuff because I wanted some colour. You know. So I've come home inspired that I am going to have some pretty flowers and do something. So yes, roses would be one. Double Delight is the one I absolutely creamy colour, and it's pink around the edges. It's still got a perfume. So I'm going to be select because again the bending over with your back so dirty. But I'm going to do some pretty things.
And I'll help you with that, but I haven't got the mind. Kath's the creative one. Her sense of colour is superb. She just knows a sense of pattern with flowers. And I just say, what now, darling? And grab whatever I've got to grab. I haven't got that. But if you're talking about the bush and maintenance, that's mine. That we complement each other in so many ways, and this might be a good thing to finish on. Kath, I don't know what we are on the Enneagram. I'm a 2. What are you?
You're not a 2, you're a 1.
I'm a 1. Oops.
I'm a 4.
There's a 1
That's
and a
a
4.
good marriage.
So what's the 4? What's
The
the?
Enneagram.
I know the Enneagram, but
Yeah.
I've
What's
forgotten
the
what
4?
4 is.
Oh,
Because one's the perfectionist, or that's one of the ways of
well,
looking at
Doug's
it, right?
the leader. Like
And
he's the
okay, right.
So he's head person. I'm heart person.
Right.
Me, we want to be special. We want people to like us. We want, that's our weakness. You know? We want to be noticed.
But we complement each other very well. And that's,
Oh, we
that's the
do.
thing.
Marriage-wise, apparently, ones and fours go very well together.
Yeah.
I
We,
wasn't.
we have our differences, but because of our commitment to each other in faith and love, we get through those. We've had some big differences. We've been married 37 years, and we won't go into the early days, because I married late at 42. When I left the monastery, the woman I left to marry went off with someone else, so I was 12 years unmarried, broken-hearted, hit the bottle, smoked a lot, went out with a lot of weird women in Sydney where I was living. Nothing happened until a blind date in a Sanssouci Chinese restaurant with this woman in 1986 opened my eyes to what he had in mind. I proposed a month later, came up in February, came up in January, married, and she said yes.
Wow.
Made for it.
I said,
So it
let
was
me
just-
think about it.
And I said, you got 5 minutes, the plane's warming up, they've given the last call. That's a
Grab your
fact.
bag.
Well,
That's
well
a fact,
done,
yeah.
Lee.
Well done. Yeah.
And,
Yeah, well done, Doug.
and it was a family of 4 adolescents, 2 of them at uni and 2 at school. And that was sort of the relationship we formed. And it's very earthy. We have differences, but deep down, my love for you will carry me through anything that I get pissed off sometimes. And we've walked through everything.
But I
Think
think,
of the health.
Proposition of love. Well
I
done.
think what worked for us, though, we were very open, both of us, to counselling.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So willing to work it through.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't just try and do it. In fact, I tell people that in the beginning, because Doug was walking into a family of 5, you know, me and the 4 quantities. So I say to people, look,
The memories.
we we saw every counsellor we reckoned in Brisbane. We went from spiritually minded people to social workers to people who would say yes, they were a psychologist. The variety of people that we saw helped was
And
amazing, but it worked.
There were
It
two
worked.
things that came out of it that kept us going, in my view. One is, don't let anyone should on your day to day.
Yeah.
And secondly, be open to a no comment. So if I were to say something and I don't want Kath to react, I say, no comment. She'll say, yep, and I say what I want to. It's amazing how freeing that is. And the other one about don't let anyone should on, should is one of the most misused, manipulative words.
Yeah, yeah. It's insidious,
It
isn't
works
it?
for us.
Yeah.
And we both follow that, but we both follow Jesus, so I mean, we've got our eye on a good point.
We've had some pretty horrific things to work through because of, Doug at 42, and I'd been married, at 24, and I had my kids quickly, which was great. So we had to work through a heck of a lot of stuff.
And even this was, we didn't plan to come out to the bush. As Kath said, it was an ongoing search for something. And when we came in the car looking around, we came out to the valley about which we knew nothing, and Kath said, my friends are in the gap. I don't want to go much further. So we discounted Malady, we discounted down south. The best thing we ever did, 20-minute run to the gap, which now means when we go into the Wesley or the hospital, we're in touching distance.
It's a very wise decision if this is where you want to age in place. Because
We didn't
you're
make
very
it on that
close to
basis.
the major services in this state.
Yeah, so it's good that way.
It wasn't planned, but my eldest son, he ended up buying our house at the Gap, which I had built. I had built that when I came from Perth. And
You came over from Perth, they don't know that.
I came over from Perth at the end of 1977 to join a Catholic group here, which was progressive. It was good, the best thing I've ever done. And I actually built a house with about 9 or 10 other houses around. No fences between us. They were all
So like
part of my
intentional
group.
community sort
Oh,
of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very much.
Gradually people left, but I was probably the one that stayed there. And it was different. We had an Anglican family there, uniting. But anyway, they were all different.
It was an ecumenical community that split off and became just Catholic.
Yeah.
At late 90s, it went through really traumatic experience.
I think, isn't it every intentional community seems to have to do that eventually?
to.
Yeah, but
It's
I
the
put my
forming.
hand up and say, because I'd been doing that as a consultant in Sydney and in the government, I was the only one the elders invited to come and try and lead a process to get them out of it. Because I hadn't been in as long as so many, so I wasn't caught up in the
politics.
polarised politics of it. And it went beautifully because people, their hearts were in the right place, but there was so much hurt.
Right.
And for interest, the one thing that got it going was when we met with this steering group in a room, and it was pretty fierce, and I went down to the dam before I went into the meeting and said, God, what am I going to do? It was scary, people, really scary. And he told me, and I went into the room and there's a whiteboard. I said, we're not going to have an argument. Say nothing until you can nominate what it is we all agree with. And we had half an hour and everyone in that room agreed on one thing. And from then, it was downhill.
Right.
Now, that wasn't my idea, that was his. But now, if we're in difference, I always come back to where's the common ground? Come out of the red corner, the black corner, stand there, don't hold hands, you hate each other. But what can you all say and look in the eye and say, I think this is important. And if you get to something, it's downhill from there. It worked. Here ended the lesson, but that made it work.
We need to maybe stick a bit. For me, you've got that code about should. For me, in my marriage, it's why. You can have for what reason, but not why. That's just an aside. So now Leighton is wrapping up with.
Yeah, well, the last thing I guess what we had in mind is we're very conscious that Paul used the lovely expression, a major life achievement that we're aware of, that you've implemented a charity. But one of the things we like to at the end of this session is just give people an opportunity to, talk up or promote something that they'd like people to know. I thought you might like to say something about that charity, or anything else you want to.
I
Because we can
will.
put some links below the video, and sort of help promote something that you'd like to see promoted.
Well, I will. I'm going to talk ATM.
Yeah.
We, as a member of this community, have been involved from day one in a mission centre. Our community started 10 years ago in South Brisbane and is now got the mayoress as a patroness. It receives grants from the what's that thing on the South Bank, the International Convention Centre,
Oh, yeah.
has given some of their cooking equipment. It's attracting the attention of people because it's open and it offers a place for people to come, people who sleep under the bridge, people just out of prison, and they come and they can do their laundry, go to the toilet. They are fed with some beautiful food, much of which is volunteered, and there is a link to it if you want me to send you the Facebook link.
Yes,
It's
please.
called Emmanuel City Mission.
Yep.
And it's a place where Kath and I go out of here. We're in the centre of the city, right?
Yep.
Not
Right
much
in the
greenery,
centre.
yet
Yeah, yeah.
right in it. And we meet smiling faces and people we've never met before come up and talk with us, and we talk with them. And I come away saying, geez, I feel so much more human now because we're there to give and to be present. And the women come to Kath because so many of them are at risk in the streets.
Yeah.
And I reviewed the injury prevention policy because that was my field, and we've modified the policy which manages prevention. We've now got cameras that are connected to the police station and all of that. There have been unfortunate situations, but overall it's managed very, very well, and it's called Emmanuel City Mission. Check it out on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just look at it and see what people can do when we have a heart for others.
Well,
That's wonderful.
the director there, he was in the lineup for Australian of the Year for Queensland. Now, he didn't get it, but he certainly deserved the nomination. But it's highly regulated. It has to be because of the nature of the place.
Yeah.
There'd be anyone causing problems would be spoken to or maybe sent away, not to come back until they'd settled down. Doctors come, nurses come. they
Or
do
volunteers.
extra- Yeah, all volunteers. We don't have any government funding, it's all volunteered. In fact, we've just shifted buildings, just gone around the corner. And previous to that, the warehouse we were using was being sold. Now, the people who bought it, when they knew what we were doing, we didn't have to pay them rent for 18 months
Oh, wonderful.
because they liked and could
They
see
weren't
what
ready
we were
to
doing.
take it over, so they said stay in it
Yeah,
rent-free.
rent free for the 18 months, which was like thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
It's not quite true that there are salaried people that work there. They have to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
And we fund that through donations, and we don't sell raffle tickets or anything like that. But the quiet supporters are amazing if you knew who they were and how much they contribute, because the work is all good. And in the interviews to review the policy, I interviewed the local police sergeant, who's the community policing officer, and she was so much in support of it. And they're 5 minutes away, so if the alarm goes off, someone makes a phone call, they're right there. And she couldn't speak highly enough of it.
Right.
And her advice was, put the cameras in, because then we have evidence if it has to go to court.
Right.
But when you've got the police in support and you've got the local mayor's wife identifying it, and you're looking at people donating their time, you've got schools going in to do the kitchen work, because schools now have to do sort of placements as part of their social community education. We have half a dozen schools that turn up, park the bus outside, and they put on a lunch. It's amazing. It's really good.
We have students from ACU coming for their placements as well. So there's a variety of people again coming and going.
So that's a joint initiative by the sound of it. You're very enthusiastic, Kath.
Oh, love it.
Well,
Love
we're part of the community, and we get invited in and we go in, but we
Yeah.
love going in
Mm,
because it's where we believe. I mean, you don't see a crowd here in need. There
Yeah.
would be in the suburbs, but in there are people in obvious
It's
need.
very visible, yeah.
So we need to connect, otherwise we could drift off here and become sort of in an oasis of self-serving pleasure.
It's a very
Can't be that.
humble place.
Yeah.
Very humble. But the director of the place, he is amazing. Got 7 kids. Never stops working from day. He'll do everything from sweeping the floors
It's his
to
brainwave. You got to
minding
go.
Right, I see.
people. So he's multi-talented. Absolutely.
So, Emmanuel City Mission,
Yeah.
Cordelia Street, South Brisbane.
We have a lot of Aboriginal people come.
Oh, thanks.
So,
What I'd like to do now we've finished is in a couple of weeks I'll give you a ring if you think of anything you'd like to add. Please, any other points, just let us know and we'll include it in some regard and see if there's any I'll follow up, in other words.
yeah.
I think your generous limit of 10 minutes allowed me to say most of what I want to do, Paul.
Well,
Point taken.
He thinks I talk too much.
we like good talkers. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kath.
It was
Thank you,
lovely.
Doug.
Thank you for the opportunity.
That was excuse me, this is not going to sound right. That was a genuine expression of affection, was it?
Oh, yeah.
That?
Well, let's get a photo of that. That's just.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
Ned, do you want to get a photo?
we're not all talk. We're the real
Oh,
thing.
Thank you very
Hey.
much.
If you've made it this far, then we hope this is because you've been enjoying our content. So if you're not reading, watching, or listening to this on Substack, then we'd like you to visit us there and, of course, subscribe. We're at craftyeccentrics.substack.com. Substack is where we provide the full range of our content, both free and also some just for paying subscribers. It's where we hope to build a community of interest around craft. And subscribing there can really help us keep producing more content. Otherwise, just liking, subscribing, and sending our content on to others you think would be interested on whatever platform you're on is something we'd really appreciate.